going all the way down the production line, going back into a box, and the box getting toted back out to my garage, and doing this as fast as possible.
This year we did it in the snow.
We did it in the snow. You know, it wasn't this kind of biblical snow, mind you, but it was still snow. And we did the whole thing this year once we started stuffing bags in 4 hours. That doesn't count the hours and hours and hours and hours of preparation time, but the actual getting everyone there and running the production line. That's in stark contrast to 2 years ago when we had 1,200 bags and it took us 9 hours. And
More stuff.
there was more stuff, and it depends on the bag. Like the bags that we had, those red bags, I think people really like those red cooler bags, right? Those things are pretty cool. The problem is when they show up in a box, they're actually like all snapped together, and you have to unsnap them all and then unzip them, and there's some of them don't work right and whatever, and they're small, and they're difficult to get everything shoved in there, and those things, they took forever. You know, these, like last year's had a flap, and we had to open the flap, and they're all soft and squishy, and like the bags are falling over while trying to stuff them. These bags, something that we take into account now is how difficult is that bag gonna be to stuff full of crap, you know? And it turns out these bags are quality materials from our vendors and ourselves. So, but it is something, and all these volunteers they take time, they come over to the house and they do this. So that's when registration starts. You know, we get all that stuff ready, we get the speaker bags ready, we get it all staged, so that when you guys line up and you've got your barcode, we've got the labs guys and the con staff have got the registration computer set up, they got all the back-end databases working, we've got all the bags ready to go. We open those doors, you guys walk in, and we give you, beep, here's your bag, get out of here. Beep, here's your bag, get out of here. And we average every year about 1 every 6 seconds, which is pretty darn good, I think. I think if you go to other conferences that you pay a lot more for, you're lucky to get out of there in 6 seconds. So anyway, again, a big hand to the registration folks and all the people that, and Brian for the registration system and everything. It's just been fantastic. We obviously will still, it's not perfection, and we'll gladly take any feedback that people have, but by and large, this is one area of the con that the first day of the con is hectic. I mean, Brian, you can speak to how hectic the first day of a con can be, and it's so nice to know that at least once we open those doors, the next 2 hours, that process is just gonna go, the line's gonna disappear, and the conference is gonna start. So, and we're not waiting for things to show up from China. Although this year, it's funny, they misprinted our lanyards, and we were waiting for things for China. We buy lanyards from a company in Illinois, and that company in turn buys the process-printed lanyards from a company in China. Which we didn't know when we started this, so the first batch shows up, and they're like, yeah, that gray, it's kind of brown. And we're like, oh, how bad is it? Like, it's like bark. Like, oh, well, we're not going to accept that. Can you get a reprint? They're like, we don't know, we'll find out. And then started this kind of like, they told the company in China to make them and then ship them, and then they were going to have to clear customs, and then they were going to have to go to Illinois, and then from Illinois they were going to have to come to our place. And they got to our place about 4 hours before the bag stuffing commenced. So it was skin of our teeth to be able to get the lanyards in the bags. Video streaming. So we did video streaming this year. Probably not a lot of people here watched it. Obviously the people at home are watching it now.
Hopefully.
Hi. If it's up at the moment. Is it up and running right now? We're streaming. So this is actually, I was watching DojoCon for Marcus Carey's local conference. Marcus, are you in here? No, Marcus is out working the Hacker for Charity thing, I think. Or was that you going woohoo? Or you're just woohooing Marcus? Marcus, okay, yay, go Marcus. So he's out working for the Hackers for Charity thing, and he runs a small, or a nice con up at Capitol College called DojoCon. He started it this year, but one of the things he did was stream it on Ustream. And I couldn't make it, I was doing something else that weekend, so I decided I'd go watch this thing. And it was really well done. Like, it just seemed to work seamlessly. I would sit there, I was watching talks while I was working. I'm like, wow, that's pretty goddamn awesome. I'm like, hey, how'd you do that? He's like, you just go to Ustream, set up an account, aim a camera at people, and you're done. You don't pay for it. There's really hardly any setup involved. And we're like, oh, well, hell. So we went out and we tested it, and we bought a couple of systems and the video capture cards. Ted's been kind enough to give us the video feed. We worked with the labs folks to get dedicated bandwidth, so we did quality of service to make sure we had enough bandwidth getting out of here. So it took a little away from the overall con attendance, but we still, we tried to keep it down to a dull roar on the network. We dedicated at least 2 con staff and 1 labs person full-time just to make the video streaming work. Because I recognize it's the kind of thing that if we half-assed and it screwed up, it was A, going to frustrate people, which is not what we aim to do, but B, it's just going to be a giant waste of time for people. So we figured we're going to, go heavy or go home, right? So we got all the right gear, we got everyone coordinated early, we tested it, and there's always little hiccups here and there, but by and large, it seems to have been a huge success. Some of these talks have 200, 300, 400 people watching them online, and it's which I think is great to be able to, especially in a weekend like this weekend, get the material out to people who couldn't make it to the con. So we got a lot of good feed. Whoops. Time machine couldn't complete my backup. Fail. You would think that somewhere there's a bit like, don't interfere with what's happening right now. Ryan.
Is Ustream providing a recording facility too, or were you doing that separately?
Yeah, the question is, does Ustream provide a recording facility? If you use the certain codecs that they have, they will just automatically record it. You just hit a button and hit record, and it will automatically record whatever you want. And then when you stop recording, you just save it as a file, and people can look at it later on. So, Ustream, it's, there's still some rough edges. The service is obviously still getting going, but for a free service, man, I can't complain. So we got very good feedback. They used actually IRC for their chat thing, not screwing around. We wrote an IRC bot that logged all the chat information because there was some very good feedback that came across there. But it's actually just...
To eventually take questions too from the at-home audience.
Yeah, and our goal is to be able to take questions from not just the physical audience here, but from the at-home audience as well. So now that we know that we can do the basics, we can do blocking and tackling with Ustream, now we're going to try the passing game. Football analogies, it's Super Bowl Sunday. We'll try taking questions from the internet next year. So, security, we again provided our own security staff. One thing that we do that is different from other cons is we don't intermingle, or we don't delineate the security staff from the other staff. All staff just wear orange t-shirts, and that way you can kind of walk up to any staff and ask a question, but everyone's got a specific role, so the security people can kind of do their thing and aren't looking intimidating. Our idea is not to have an intimidating security staff, it's to have a security staff that's helping you out, helping the hotel out, and not looking like they're ready to tear the place down. It's worked out very well for us. Some just basic mechanics. They have a schedule. They try not to have everyone working all the time. They've got a very set shift schedule. It seems to work out well. People working doors, people having spare time, that kind of thing. We rent radios from a local vendor. Every year we think, we should buy our radios. And you look at the cost of radios and the fact that we're not even going to use them the rest of the year, forget it. We sign one form with one company, we fax it in. A couple days later, the radios are ready. We use them for a week, take them, send them back, we're done. So it's pretty streamlined. GM1 and Freshman led up that activity again this year, and it seemed to have gone very well. So other gear and odds and ends. We bought 3 more servers, Dell 1U boxes. Dells don't come by default with a power cable anymore. I was kind of surprised. But then when we were sorting through, GM and I went through a couple days before the con and resorted every cable in every box and neatly labeled all the boxes and everything. We discovered we had approximately 60 extra power cables. So I stopped cursing Dell at that point. I'm like, how green of them. But we got, the ones we got were this year, single proc Xeon, quad cores with 4 gigs of memory apiece. I think they were plenty functional for what we needed them for. Our needs aren't that aggressive, but I did not buy ones that were virtualization, had hardware-based virtualization, so my bad on that, sorry guys. We bought 3 laptops and video capture devices, like I said, for Ustream. We had a couple speakers this year. We tried to provide things to the speakers that they're going to need, and we had a few speakers this year that said, hey, look, I've got a physical thing that need to show off, like the closing plenary is, people dealing with anti-tamper and hardware tampering kind of things, and they have seals and things they want to show off. And it's really hard to see like a little tiny hardware seal from the back of the room. So we bought a AverMedia visual presentation thing. It's like a little camera, and it's got little laser points that will show the corners of where it's actually where your visual area is. It's got like autofocus and all that kind of stuff. It should be, is it? Oh, it's right here. So it's a really nice and moderately expensive thing, and then they give you like this rinky Tyvek case for it. It's like the worst. They're like, and then do you want to buy a service plan for this, sir? Because I'm sure you're going to break it in the first 5 minutes from this crappy case. But it's really, I'm sure you've all seen it. It's got the little arm that comes up and everything. It's pretty neat. Anyway, we got one of those now. We can use that year over year. We bought last year the TF2 tournament. Last year was the first year we did the TF2 tournament, and we had a lot of monitors and mice for that. And it turns out that we didn't have as many monitors and mice for the labs. So So there's like a constant battle of people like running back and forth, sniping monitors and mice and keyboards and that kind of thing. So we bought a lot of kind of incidental office equipment this year, monitors, mice, keyboards, hard drives, just to have around and minimize the churn of, hey, who's got what. And that actually, you weren't short anything this year, or were you okay? We're good. Okay, good. So I think we finally reached the point now. We've got all the projectors we need. We've got a really good stack of servers. We've got a lot of stuff, and hopefully our gear purchasing next year will be down due to that. We expanded the contest even further this year. We had Ghost in the Shell Code as a CTF contest, and the Shmooball launching contest, which was more for my personal safety, to try to relegate that to a contest as opposed to full-time target practice at my head. And it seemed to work out pretty well. The targets are still up from last night's Shmooball launching contest. I'm apparently the center target, what everyone wanted to aim for. Was anyone in here for that last night? Yeah, so that thing was scary. Like, I'll be really honest. Like Dave from Security Justice won the whole contest. His machine was reliable and it fired and whatnot. But the Paul.com guys had that Barbie Hot Wheels thing with a weapon on top. And when the first time they were having some issues firing it, when it finally fired, like no one saw the shot. We just saw the ricochet. Like you hear this noise, like poof, and the ball bounces off the wall. We're like, wow, that's dangerous. Like that's really fast. So I'm sure that'll be back, but we may have to find a way to do it in a slightly more controlled fashion next year, because I think at some point we will have lethal force. All the previous year's contests did come back this year. How many people participated in at least one contest? Number of people. Do you want to see more? It seems like a good number to me, given the number of people. There were a lot of contests going on for those that were into that kind of thing. If you have ideas on contests, we're certainly happy to talk about them. If you have feedback on any contest that happened this year, again, we're happy to have that. We feel it's kind of an integral part. It gives people, some people really like the contest, and some people just want to go to the talks. I think everyone's different about what they like when they go to conferences, and I think we're finally at the point where we have a very mature kind of set of contests that people can choose from everything from hardware hacking, the Shmooball launching thing, to full-blown weekend-long capture the flag kind of deal. So. Vendors and sponsors. We had 40 overall sponsors, which includes lab sponsors. Lab sponsors send gear, sales engineers, that kind of thing to help out in the labs. And so that means we had like 29 non-lab sponsors, or 30 or something like that. There's a little bit of overlap that sponsored the conference. We continue to push the sponsors whenever, obviously we've got, if you look at the sponsorship list from 3 or 4 years ago and you look at it now, we have companies, much larger organizations coming here, and they're, sending, kind of a different reason. People coming here to recruit, and people coming here to, sell kind of a different type of service, which is great. It means we're kind of have a broader appeal than I think what we initially had. But we continue to press all the sponsors to try to do something different. This isn't a trade show. On the flip side, as much as we don't like vendor pitches on stage, come buy this product, I think that we need to be very careful not to be too scared of vendors. Because at the end of the day, you still need to go buy products and go use them, and it's great to have a productive working relationship with the vendors and provide feedback to them and at least understand their product space, understand their services, and that kind of thing. And so we try to encourage the vendors to be part of that kind of concept. Don't just come here and pitch something. Come here and try to be a constructive part of the community, and in turn, we hope that the attendees will have a constructive relationship with the sponsors.
Did anybody see the fight in the hallway?
Did anyone see either of the two fights in the hallway? So there were, over here, there was a Shmooball/rocket fight that occurred.
No, flexible flyer fight.
Oh, and flexible flyers. This was like a multifaceted, there were many different types of assets in play there. And so that went on for about 10 or 15 minutes, and there was that's some good aim there, Mubix. That was good. And then about an hour later, the same thing happened over here, but it was a pure fight. It was just Shmooballs, and it was nonstop. And at some point, there was a whole bucket poured down like Gatorade on someone. It was like, yay, we win, woo! And so there was a lot of. I see you now. You've given it up. Now you're standing up. You're gonna throw. Now he's gonna sit down now. Okay. Anyway, I think it worked great. The vendors all seemed to get along with each other, even after injuring each other lethally with some of these weapons. So you have to get that close to hit me, sir. Gonna sit in the front row.
You better aim well.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
I have the wood armor now on my MacBook. Last but not least, feedback. Branson, again, led up the creation of feedback-bucon.org. How many people left feedback this year? Not many? Come on, please. Well, the con's not over. You better remember when you get. What's your name, sir? Daniel, and I'm definitely, if I don't see a Daniel leaving feedback in the next 2 days, we're going to just blacklist all Daniel credit card numbers next year. Doesn't matter. I apologize to all the other Daniels, but he's not.